Okay, thanks. Okay, bye. Give us some good. Pentagon. Do you have a number for those guys? I will find out.
Okay.
Okay. Never mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Mr. Colonel Ives? Can you hear me? Test? All right.
Colonel Kim.
Good. Right, Tom. Colonel Kim, can you read some?
Yeah. Me?
Yes.
Me first, maybe?
No, just read some for it so we can do
Ah,
a test.
Good morning. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Seong Ki-kim, the commander of the Korean hospital on Bagram Airfield, Afghanistan. It's okay?
Tom?
Okay, I guess we'll get started. Good morning. Colonel Ives, this is Jim Turner in the Pentagon briefing room. Can you hear me?
Good morning, Jim. Yes, I can.
Great. Okay, let's go ahead. Recently we discussed security operations in the Afghan National Army, and today we're going to hear from Colonel Jonathan Ives, Commander of Task Force Cincinnatus of the Combined Joint Task Force 82. And joining Colonel Ives is Lieutenant Colonel Seong Ki-kim, Commander of the Republic of Korea's Army's 924th Medical Support Group. Task Force Cincinnatus is responsible for operations in 5 provinces in northeastern Afghanistan, part of NATO's Regional Command East. Colonel Ives is a mobilized reservist from Seattle, and he assumed command in February of this year. Lieutenant Colonel Kim's primary mission is to treat and aid local nationals as an outpatient care facility. Both of the colonels are speaking to us from Bagram Airfield today, and have agreed to provide us a comprehensive view focusing on governance and development operations and health care for Afghans. Colonel Ives will start with his opening comments, and then we'll turn it over to Lieutenant Colonel Kim for his comments before they take your questions. And with that, Colonel Ives, over to you.
Thank you very much, Jim. Good morning. I'm Colonel Jonathan Ives, the commander of Task Force Cincinnatus, located in Bagram Airfield, Afghanistan. This morning, I'm going to give you a brief introduction to our mission, our ongoing activities here, my observations, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. Task Force Cincinnatus is composed of approximately 1,000 service members from the U.S., New Zealand, the Republic of Korea, and Turkey. I consider this force to be a model of presence in the future after Afghan National Security Forces, the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, and ISAF forces have created a secure and stable environment throughout Afghanistan, which is predominantly a PRT development with combat force and a required base operations support for our area of operations. Our mission is to support and extend the reach of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan by cooperatively developing the IROA's national security capabilities of their AMP and to support the growth of governance and development within the provinces of Bamiyan, Panjshir, Parwan, and Wardak to help build a stable Afghanistan. Specifically, during this year, my emphasis has been on education, information, and employment. The task force supports coalition and U.S. provincial construction teams that are a Department of State U.S. team in Panjshir, one combined Korean and U.S. for Parwan and Kapisa, a Turkish team in Wardak, and a New Zealand team in Bamiyan. We provide security operations for Bagram Airfield and Camp Edgars, to include support to the U.S. Embassy in Kabul and operational support for Kandahar Airfield and Salerno, which extends our command over 400 miles across to Afghanistan. Our current security operations, Tiber Salab, is taking place in the Dagab and Najrab districts of Kapisa province. This operation began in May to separate the Afghans and the Taliban insurgents who operate in that area. Since we have limited security forces, we must capitalize on our partnerships with relationship building with IROA officials, ANSF, and other coalition forces to bring stability to this area. During our relationship building Shura meeting in Tagab, we confirmed that the villagers want coalition-led development, and they are worried about the Taliban threat. The population in the valley is worried that the local AMP force is not capable of providing security, so we are training and mentoring the police to improve their capability. At the same time, we are encouraging the elders to help themselves by not growing poppy and to embrace the USAID Alternative Livelihood Program, and to notify the police if Taliban are living among the populace. This way, in their valley, and if they want security, it has to be a voluntary program, and we are helping them to build Afghan trust in their police. The benefit of the security to their valley is to increase the security and international aid and development, enabling them to have a better future. The spearhead for development in governments throughout our provincial reconstruction team that help extend the reach of the government is also goes without saying that the PRT efforts are very closely tied to the Afghan National Compact obligations to the international community. Our PRTs have focused their assistance on the ANC goals of the Afghan National Development Strategy in the sectors of infrastructure, education, health, agriculture, rule of law, and working with the local government to integrate all of those provincial development plans, which is really a grassroots democratic approach to project nomination from every level in the community. The PRTs have supported the provisional infrastructure development with the use of over $20 million of the Commander's Emergency Response Program, building schools, bridges, roads, clinics, and much more. The schools we have built across the province have been critical in achieving the compact goals of 75% of primary-age children in school by 2010 to include books, curriculum, and teachers. An example of our success in the area of Bamiyan Boys High School, which was originally designed for 500 students, currently supports improving education for over 1,200 Afghan students. The PRTs continue to support the development of governance in partnership with the Department of State representatives on their teams. Bamiyan's Governor Shorobi is an international figure, lecturing worldwide on women's goals within her province. In Panjshir, the PRT works with Governor Balul, a former Mujahideen commander, to provide a stable and effective government. The Panjshir is best known for the final stronghold of Ahmad Shah Musad, the Lion of Panjshir, and they take great pride in their military history and remaining strong. To me, this is evidence that the slow, deliberate cultural acceptance of the hope for a better and peaceful Afghanistan. The strengths of Task Force Cincinnatus are not the number of our service members, but our alliances with our Afghan people, ANSF, IROA, and coalition forces. Our coalition partnerships have strengthened our awareness and assisted us in helping the Afghans to improve their future. I'll be followed by Lieutenant Colonel Kim, the Bagram Korean Hospital Commander.
Good morning. I am Lieutenant Colonel Seong Ki-kim. I'm privileged and happy to have this opportunity today to our hospital supported. The 924th Medical Support Group has been participating in Operation Enduring Freedom since the Korean government announced its commitment in September 24, 2001, to support the international community in the war on terrorism. The first rotation of the hospital was deployed in February 2002, and now the 11th rotation is in service to continue the mission. I would like to mention that the Korean Engineer Group was deployed along with the Korean hospital. The Engineer Group has been providing construction, supporting on operational facilities for U.S. and other coalition forces on the base. The 9th rotation of the 100th Engineer Group was deployed in April this year. The engineers have about 20 construction projects on the way, including on expansion of the airfield mooring pad. The Korean hospital provides medical support for the people of Afghanistan and the coalition forces on the base. We also conduct public health education and humanitarian relief activities for the local people. To enhance a close relationship with the coalition forces, we actively participate in many activities held on the base. We are introducing traditional Korean culture, such as Taekwondo and the traditional Korean cuisine. The Taekwondo class is getting very popular among the service members on the base. It is held twice a week at the clamshell held here on Bagram. The Korean hospital has 60 of its members, including nurses, medics, and 4 doctors. They see an average of 4,000 patients a month, roughly 200 patients a day, while maintaining love and care for the people. Most of the patients come from the nearby Parwan province and Kabul. Some patients, however, come from as far away as Kandahar, which is 200 miles away from here, and even from areas near border of Pakistan. From time to time, we do receive emergency patients with serious injuries from mine explosions and gunshots. For this case, we maintain a combined treatment system in which we give first aid to the patient and quickly evacuate them to the U.S. hospital. The Korean hospital has been carrying out its mission for 5 years and 4 months now. On June 21st, the total number of patients treated reached 240,000. We will be having a celebration ceremony on the 3rd, at which the government of Afghanistan will award a certificate of appreciation to us. The Korean hospital has been providing wholehearted medical support with the unique kindness and love of Koreans. We have received a warm welcome and a good response from the people of Afghanistan. We are determined to make more effort to give hope to the people. We will continue making contributions to bring an early establishment of peace in this land. I am very proud to be part of and to make contributions to Operation Enduring Freedom. I really appreciate this opportunity to introduce the Korean hospital to a very important and large audience today.
That concludes our introductory comments, and would be willing to take questions at this time.
Oh, great. Well, thank you for the overview, and we'll start with Kristen.
My question is for Lieutenant Colonel Kim.
Can you please identify yourself?
I'm sorry, this is Kristen Roberts with Reuters. My question is about the medical outreach that you mentioned in your opening statement. Can you give us an idea of how much of the Afghan population you're able to reach with medical outreach? And are you also able to get into some of the more remote areas of Afghanistan?
Did you understand the question?
Until now, we treat 240,000 patients. Is clear?
Question, sir, is really more about what areas of the country you're able to reach. Are you only providing services in the main urban areas where there is enough infrastructure, or have you been able to reach the rural, remote areas?
Korean hospital just provide outpatient only because our mission and ability is not enough to outreaching patients. It's okay?
He located on Bagram, so those outpatients have to travel to Bagram Airfield in order to provide the service. So it's really not an outreach program where he is able to take his services to those, but they're actually from the local areas, specifically Parwan province, which surrounds us here. They're able to come here where he gets a number, but they also will travel up to 200 miles at their own capacity through their own vehicles to come here and get the services, because they really are well respected in the community.
So this is Jim Garamond from American Forces Press Service. For Colonel Kim, how many Korean service members in the full 11 cycles have actually participated in the operation there? And for Colonel Ives, do the Afghan people understand why your task force is named after Cincinnatus?
Go ahead and ask. The first one is, how many total Koreans have served?
Okay, our medical group total 60 members. Okay, 4 doctors, 3 nurses, 9 medics, and 34 supporting members.
And 200 with the engineers? How many with the engineers?
Engineers, 150 engineers.
And then this is the 5th rotation?
Engineers 9th rotation.
9th rotation.
Medical group is 11th rotations.
So Jim, does that somewhat answer your question there, or?
Yes, thank you. And the idea of Cincinnatus?
Okay. Cincinnatus, where I have access and discuss specifically with governors, and we have meetings, and they wonder about the name because it's not as easy as something like tiger or lion or many other names that might be used. I try to explain to them exactly what the idea of Cincinnatus is, and also being a reservist, it means quite a lot to me to understand that I come and I serve the nation, and then I return back to being a civilian employee amongst all the people of the United States. And so I relate that to them, that I'm a citizen soldier and I come forward to serve and then go back. And where they do, they understand it, especially the Muj fighters that were a part of the defeat of the Russians, and then again that stood up as part of the Northern Alliance. They too have now resumed their jobs as farmers and or local businessmen, and they really appreciate the idea of Cincinnatus as a whole. Thank you.
Sir, it's Gordon Lubald from the Christian Science Monitor. I wonder if you could just kind of give us an overview of the amount of violence that you're seeing. Is it up? Is it down? What kinds of violence, and also specifically with regard to IED attacks, what are you seeing there?
We're fortunate in our 5 provinces that we're fairly permissive. However, I did discuss that in the Kapisa province we have a cell of Taliban that are operating out of there. The reason they're choosing that area is it's not only an ethnic base of operations that allows them to work from that area, and they provide some support through that type of relationship that they already have there. But also it's fairly close to Kabul. It's about 30 kilometers to Kabul, and it's about 30 kilometers over to Baf. So in that regard, it's strategically placed in order to create access or provide them access to two areas of significant influence. What we've seen as far as the violence in the local area is it's increased a little bit in that our IEDs and or activities in around the Bagram security zone and also in Parwan. Specifically, recently you may have seen targeting against Zakia Zakai, who was a reporter, a local reporter, and a well-known female owner of a radio station, Radio Freedom here, and she was targeted and killed in an assassination. And we link those type of things, also the attack on a parliamentary member, a female parliamentary member who's very strong on female education, and she's also local to the Parwan area. Her attacks individually, I think both of those relate both to the ideology of the Taliban and the restrictions on female education as far as the future of Afghanistan. And both of these women stood strong in defending that, and also looking at the Constitution and hoping that in the future that women will be able to stand strong in the education arena here in Afghanistan, and specifically in Parwan.
Are you seeing more women targeted generally?
No, I really feel that they're equal opportunities as far as their targeting, and it really becomes a target of opportunity, depends on where they are. The escalation is not extreme as far as it's like risen from a minimal of 2 to 100, but ones and twos, but enough so that it makes our reasonably secure areas to heighten our awareness as we travel, both in IED finds and the targeting. The equipment, though, that we're provided here, we are absolutely thankful for the capabilities of the United States to produce and arm our soldiers with the technical equipment that prevent a number of the IEDs from going out, and allowing us also to go out and exploit the IEDs in order to bring that information back and share that with everybody within theater, wherever we do find them and whatever the trigger mechanisms are, so that we can exploit those in the future and continue to build more information to defeat their technical capabilities, and also to provide security for our forces as we travel about and try to support the growth and development here in Afghanistan.
Colonel Ives, Paul Krozak, Copley News Service. I have a related question. How would you assess the strength of the Taliban in your area, including reference to their numbers and their resources compared to the past, compared to last year, compared to 2005, for example?
The assessment really in our particular area is that they have grown specifically in this one area, in this one district that we're dealing with, in the Dagab district. Part of that is the recruiting. As you may know, 50% of the population here is under 15 years old, and they're really influential as far as being able to bring into the madrasas. They don't really have madrasas necessarily, but within the mosques and being taught by the Taliban. They see them coming back here as they're usually literate, they're intelligent, they're educated, they've been educated in Pakistan. They come up and they're recruiting at a variety of ages. The part that I said earlier about education, information, and employment is really our key. If we can provide educational opportunities where they've been denied, specifically in say Tagab, where they hadn't had really schools there, and many of their women were not allowed to go to school. If we can provide the education to the youth that there's opportunities outside, also information, being able to get radios in their cell phone towers, able for them to talk and communicate and find out outside of the world is growing, outside of that district is growing in the Afghan community, and that they're being surpassed, that maybe we can prevent them from going to the Taliban side and prevent them from growing that force. What we've seen is an escalation of force in there from about 50 to 200, about fourfold this year. and that's a combination of factors. I think that there's a combination from not only the district being somewhat ignored in that we thought that it was safe and secure in this province, and so we considered it to be a non-threat area, and so we didn't apply or maintain a security force. Neither we nor the ANSF and the police or their ANA remained in the province, in the district, in a continuous state. And that's really what we're finding here, is that what we need is an enduring presence, a permanent presence, of not coalition force, but maybe coalition mentored force that are police or ANA in these districts that might have an ethnic background that can be shared with the Taliban coming back in with their Pashtun or such, that allows them to come in and move freely in there. So if they would keep their police active in there and have trust in their police, or the ANA, which we've now encouraged to come back into that area, we're going to be able to make some inroads in doing that. But if we go out and they go out, then what happens is they'll fill that vacuum, and they did fill that vacuum in this case.
Just to follow up on one point, you said fourfold increase, 50 to 200 this year. What does that refer to?
50 to 200 of their fighters.
Okay, so their fighters have increased from 50 to 200 this year.
Yes.
Last question. Colonel Ives, it's Louis Martinez with ABC News. You mentioned that it's going to take some time for the enduring presence in these areas to eventually overcome the Taliban, but it's going to take about another 2 years for the full Afghan police to be stood up. And though coalition forces have increased, you say that they're not going in those areas. How do we prevent other areas from getting new Taliban recruitment or rising in Taliban levels because Taliban recruiters move there and increase their force levels?
Our way ahead is to provide the local populace with information about their future, to provide education that prevents the young from going over to try to, be coerced and being essentially brought alongside of the Taliban thought process. The more education that we get out there, the more they'll be resistant to moving away from their way of life and away from peace and into war. So I really think that our enduring presence has to be both through the development of education, which we're making great strides in doing. Presently, they were 30 years ago they had 1.2 million in school, and right now this year they've said they're about 6 million in school, 2 million of which are girls. So that type of infrastructure that we're providing them is absolutely fantastic, and the capability to prevent the young populace from moving into the Taliban. If we can provide that, train their police to be a trusted opportunity for them to report to and deal with the Taliban, then that's exactly what we need to do as far as an enduring presence. And as we do that, over the next 2 years, we'll be able to reduce our footprint and then be able to reduce exactly our military footprint through here and allow them to pick up and provide their own security, which they will do. And the ANA has already established that, and the AMP is a little bit behind because we focused on the ANA first, but the AMP is coming right along, and every single one of them that we train, their heart is in the right place. They just have to have the right opportunity. They're equipped, they're ready to go. They just have to have the right training, and then just reinforcing that training continuously, that mentoring capabilities, as our soldiers would be or our policemen would be if they're starting out from really from the ground up. And so as we do that, we'll develop that cadre of strong leaders within their military that will stand up and train them. And that's the enduring presence that we really need in Afghanistan. And I appreciate all the support that we get to do that.
Gentlemen, well, thank you very much for your time today. We hope that you'll join us again sometime. But before we close, let me turn it back over to you in case you have any closing thoughts.
I do. I want to thank you for allowing me to take a few minutes today to talk to you about the mission of Task Force Cincinnatus. I'd like to leave you with a few thoughts before I go. Our service members here in Afghanistan are performing admirably. It doesn't matter if they're soldiers, sailors, airmen, or Marines from Republic of Korea, from New Zealand or Turkey. The job they're doing here every day leaves a lasting, proud impression on the Afghans. When Task Force Cincinnatus leaves to return home, we'll leave behind a legacy of caring and commitment to the people of Afghanistan and a belief in their future. We'll have mentored the leaders and stood beside them through good times and bad, and have demonstrated the will of the U.S. citizen to support a country that has been ravaged by war for over 30 years. The result of which is an illiteracy and a child mortality rates that rank in some of the worst in the world. We have stood by and represent the United States citizen and dedicated to the development of their villages, the health and education for a better future. And so we, the service member, coalition partners, and government employees of Task Force Cincinnatus, thank the U.S. citizens and our families for their sacrifices and support, which provide the necessary resources to truly help the people of Afghanistan to help themselves. And so we thank you again today.
As you well know, after so many long wars, life is difficult for the people of Afghanistan. There is a very serious lack of hospitals, doctors, nurses, and medicine. The mission and role of the Korean hospital is very important. From the bottom of our heart, all the service members of the hospital are well aware of the problem. It humbles us all when we see the local people standing in long lines, starting at 5 in the morning to see the doctors. When we see them leave the hospital filled with joy after receiving their treatment, we are filled with pride and happiness. We provide the best treatment to the patient that need it. We will make every effort to treat the hearts and minds of the people hurt by the lingering wars. We might be a small hospital which can only provide level 1 treatment. Yet, we will put all our energy into our mission to play a bigger role for the hope of Afghanistan and world peace. I pray that the Korean hospital will be a contribution to the success of Operation Enduring Freedom and a stepping stone to the establishment of hope and peace in Afghanistan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.